Hello, everyone. This is Robin Around Town, Robin on the Road, and Robin Around the World. This is a very impromptu video that I'm doing right now. I'm actually going to send this little video over to World of Wayne, um, and he does fantastic things. He's over in England and across the pond, and hopefully he'll show this up on his posts. He is doing not only the IXO, but as we all know, if you have the IXO build, Agora Models is also doing it. Of course, on the IXO build, you can purchase a Steve McQueen figure to go along with your car. Anyhow, I want to apologize ahead of time for any of the shaking here on the camera because the tripod is a very light tripod that I'm using right now. It's usually, I set it up for just lighting and things like that, but or if I'm a distance away from the camera. So I'm having to be behind the camera here, but I wanted to show you somewhat quickly all the things that I did on the engine as I did with the Ecto 1 engine. I want to build them, as we know, the engines and all the products and stuff are fantastic. IXO has put out a fantastic product, and Agora Models is basically the same dies also. So they're great model kits. Their proportions are probably within the 90% realm. Sometimes they're not quite on a lot of things, so I kind of made do with what they had given us, and then I just elaborated on that. So I want to show you what I did. I'm going to kind of use a paintbrush here to point out some of the stuff that I did here. Let me get that for you here. Okay. So basically, what you're seeing here, in fact, I'm going to do this for you. Woo, there we go. We got some light. Now, if you see the sheen on here, what I did was that is Pledge, Revive It. It's for floors, and I got the idea, and I talked with him. This is a gentleman. His YouTube channel is, I think it's listed as Hype Guys Workshop, or HPIGUYS Workshop. Go over there and watch his videos. He builds models from the past and stuff that is currently available that's been re-dyed and tooled. He does fantastic work over there. So take a look at his YouTube channel. So basically, that's why you have this shininess on a lot of it here, but it is not quite that shiny in person, but it gives a nice coating after what you've done on all your work and stuff. So you see, I have the top cover on the engine here. Now, realize something. The IXO Agora, they made this in 3 parts, and then you screw it on, and I've noticed everybody's done complaints about having to screw that down. I could see how everybody on their channels have had to really push down on this top to get it to screw in and go around, because you're pushing down on the wires that are on the distributors and everything. Now, what I'm going to show you is I actually cut out this material of the fake fiberglass. I cut out a little bit more on both spots of where the distributors go, the wires, to give me some more leeway. And then I noticed, I'm looking at reference photos. I did references off of 20-some engines, actual original 917s. I actually had some original manuals from 1969 and 70 on the building of the engines. And so I was going by reference and of all the different, basically little variations and stuff. So I used what I could use on this. And what I did was I actually chopped off about 3/16 or a little bit more off the bottom of each of the distributors and then replaced them back in, because that gives you the real profile going along this way that that you would see, and they're not so high set, and they're not supposed to be, because this top piece, as you're going to see, this top piece is supposed to be one piece. So I have glued it all together and put it together like it should be. And so that's what I've done on this one. Now, I'm going to put this to the side. Now, as you can see, another thing I did, I also put a little bit more of a red wash on the distributor caps. The reason being is they are made by Bosch, and Bosch has that kind of burgundy type distributor caps that they always produce. I had them on my dad's Porsche, and I had them on my 68 Bug. So I just put a little more of a red wash over the darker orange to give it a definite difference on this. Now I'm going to try, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with the camera here a little bit to show you some things if I can. Let's see here. I can bring this on up a little bit. Okay, we're going to come up to the top here. So here's one thing that's going to hopefully blow your mind. Is you'll see I have little chains hooked to all the cap units here, the stacks for the injections. So if you notice, also on this engine, I have painted all the little nuts and bolts and stuff like that. So what you do is, just like on the real engine, you would grab, let me see what I can do here. Let's see if I grab it right. We grab the chain. There we go. You would grab a chain and grab all your caps out. Same thing on the far side. You'd grab the chain, pull all the caps out. Now, what I did on the hoses, because everybody I heard was complaining about the hoses, the fuel lines, is they were bending too much. So what I did was I used some fiber optic that was a little bit thicker and pushed it inside of these hoses so it didn't make them look so bent. You can only do so much, but it looks really nice. It looks a lot better. Also, you'll see I put little rubber gaskets at the bottom of the pipes, just like they were on the real car. Those little rubber gaskets, I cut those, put them over the pipe, and then glued them in place. On this mold for this unit here, you'll see a little bump if you wanted to try and paint it, and it was just too hard. It was actually better just making these gaskets, and they look really nice. So this little cord here, this of course is in the center of the distributor. That's going to go to the two to your two units outside here. That'll plug into that once this is mounted into the engine. So the distributor to the coil, to the two coils. So here's another thing I want you to see. I'm going to tilt the engine over a little bit. I cut the ports all the way down as far as I could, and I painted them silver down there to make it look like that there's that's the top of the piston head. I also, ahead of time, you'll see also a little hole to the right on each of those. I actually drilled a port as if that's where the fuel would be injecting into. Now, I originally put a little tube in there because I thought it was a little bit larger or longer of a tube for the fuel injection, but it's not. It actually squirted straight off the side of the fiberglass through the tube unit, so I had to take all those out, so it was a lot of extra work. So you'll see all the work that I did there on top, all that. You'll see the wiring. I did all the wiring to the alternator, to the distributor, on through. Here's another thing I want to show you. This little unit right here, this actually comes off, which is what it would do originally. And during a race, you actually leave this off so that if you had to get to the fuel injectors, you can fix the fuel injectors. So on this little piece here, I actually redid the ends, put a hole in it, drilled where the holes would be to bolt it on, and painted it silver in there. Made those corners and ends on there. And you can see it really close up there. Now, I also did, I want to show you here, trying to do this from behind the camera. I made that little piece right there, which is missing on the engine. That is the tuning valve for the fuel injection. Used one of the spare little spark plugs that they had. In fact, here is what it looks like. So these would be, remember this? When we were building the engine, there's the little spark plugs on the bottom. I used those for a few little things in here since we had extras. So I made that little piece. The little red emergency valve release, or tempering valve, I should say, for the fuel injection. And then at the very back, you have, that's a little vacuum unit. That I actually carved out of wood and put that back there. Here's another thing I want to let everybody know. These, the way they want you to put in the fuel injection lines is actually, it's just for ease of working on the car model, but they were incorrect to the way they run for the 12 cylinders. I put them in correctly to the wiring mode, plus the regular, those wires there, plus on the distributors, on the distributors here, the way they wanted you to do it, you would have had 6 and 6 on each side. That's incorrect. This is all wired in the true sequence of firing for both sides. And if you'll notice, I have actually put the yellow tape around there, and I've numbered them all 1 through 12. So remember, on each of these, you're going to have, you have 6 on each side, so you have 12 up in there. You'll have 2 of each of the numbers, because you have 1 port in and out. And that is why you'll see black tape on some of these, which is port in, port out. And you'll see it on the side here. I'll show that in a second. But I did it on both of the distributor caps. And let me see here. Let's see how I can show you this. I'm going to bring this on up a little bit closer for you here. I want to be careful. This engine did get heavy, didn't it? For those of you building this. Okay. I hope you could see the numbers there. But you'll see that what I did was on the numbers, you have like 1 starts on the left side, the driver's side. I'm sorry, the passenger side, since it's a right-hand drive. 1 and 1, 2 and 2. Oh, I'm sorry, this is 7. I'm sorry, this is 7. So 7 blank, 7 with a black, 8 blank, 8 with a black. On down. Now, and that's the way it was in sequence. Now, also way back up in here, see that the black band? That is in the mold, and that is a rubber gasket, and those are 2 bars that would be the clamps. I painted those also, so if you want it to look accurate, those would be a rubber gasket with 2 clamps on them. Now, all these little metal, these are all metal clips I handmade. Those little metal clips to hold everything, and then I situated them where they would go onto the valve head, or onto the piston heads, valve heads. I made those, and here's what's going to blow your mind. For those of you that know horseback riding or whatnot, see these little things? These are elastic. And I was originally going to use the elastic in the center, but see, this is elastic. This is an old one. Girlfriend of mine, which we were engaged years ago and stuff, she had passed away, and I still had some of her stuff in boxes and things. And what this is these are the tie downs for either, well, most of the time you use them on the horse's mane, because you can tie down the mane for certain things that you're doing for shows, braiding or whatnot. And some of the riders actually use them in their own hair and stuff for braiding up their braids, and it keeps it tight while you got your helmet on. Well, what I did was let's see if I focus that a little bit better for you. There you go. What I did was I cut them off at certain points right here, and these, for the smaller ones, painted them black and bent them around. And then if you notice, there's some thin ones and thicker ones, and that's what I used, was these little end pieces to make go on to that. So that works out really great. I also used various little materials that I had left over. See, here's all the ones that I cut. Some of the hose I didn't need. But I used, like I say, I used a lot of little items left over to make my engine look a lot more presentable as what the original engine would look like. So let's see here what else I did here. Let's see, I'm trying to think on the other side. Got to turn this around for you there. There's the other side of the engine. All the numbers. There's number one. I'm sorry. Number one starts on what would be the driver's side in this case because it's a right-hand drive. One starts top, right, front, back to 6, and then 7 going down on the other side. And that is in the sequence that these actually were firing. So you got that there. And here's the wires. Here, this will be going to the, that's another thing, is I made the wires to go to the coils. I made the wires, see down there for the starter. That goes to the front, so that will go to the battery. Now let me turn this around for you. I want you to see the frontal part of the engine here. I want to be very careful. Now the muffler, as we all know, has these gaps in them. The funny thing is that's almost virtually where the real weld is for all these mufflers. What I'm going to do is wait till this is in the car. Whoops, sorry about the camera. I'm going to wait till this is actually in the car, and then at that time, I'm going to seal those up and then repaint it. Sorry about that. I keep bumping the camera. Okay, now here's the front of the engine. I want to show you. Did a lot of work on that front of that engine there, as you can tell. I changed the hoses. I already put in the longer bottom hose right here. This one here that goes to the front cooling system for the oil. We already know later on you have to change that from the shorter hose here. The shorter one's fine. But I made, for the middle ones, instead of just going in the little hole here, I made the actual piping units on both sides. On this belt unit here, this belt is actually a large fiberglass belt, and what I did was I colored it in the fiberglassing stripe. It kind of looks tiger striped, so I kind of copied that. And if you see the profile now of the distributor, everybody that doesn't do what I did, this distributor is going to be about that much higher up here, and that's why you're having the problem putting that top down, because it's not in characteristic. So what I did is I told you I cut out a little bit more out of here, cut a little bit more out of the backside over here to get it to fit in. Now here's another thing. This unit right here, which is a it assists in the oil pump, as I recall. I think it's an automatic assists with the oil. It had no back on it to put what should be there, which would be this wire unit here. So what I did, let's see if I can show you there. It's very hard here. I'm sorry I'm doing this way. I would normally do more of a proficient studio thing. I'll probably do some better pictures of this later on once this is in the car. But on the back of it there, I actually used the bottom of the distributor. When I cut off the bottom, I saved it, cleaned it up, molded it. It gave all that resource out the back now of this little unit, because the base bracket's actually supposed to be at an angle. But I added the opening valve pin, and then I opened the wire relay, and then I put a wire on it. Now that wire relay will be going on to into the back of the firewall. That's another thing. On the firewall, I've completely changed that also. But I want to show you the top again a little bit. Wires. And if you notice, I completely changed the colors of all the plastic that is molded in that mustard yellow. Everything, some are tan, some are darker, some are this color. They were fiberglass, and they were molded at different times or as replacements. So they're never going to be all the same color. So this is the way I basically did it. So like I say, the distributors are wired in the session they're supposed to be in. and so are those fuel injectors. All those wires go the way they're supposed to be in each of those fuel injectors. So that's basically what I've done on the engine. I hope I've kind of remembered everything for you guys, but I just want to show you how much you can do on these engines. These are fiberglass. The plates at the back and the fronts, they are also all aged and done everything on these also. I'll tell you truthfully, I was on the subscription, and I had to keep stopping it because of my illness. And for some reason or another, it got kicked off of subscription, but I had received all my free subscription items anyway. And I'm just buying it now box to box because we only have 5 more boxes. I have box 20 now. But the true time on working on this engine is about 4 months. So this is about 4 months of work and everything. I want to show you up underneath here real quick too. Let's see here if I could show you. Yeah, up underneath. Let's see if I can get it. Right up underneath there. There we go. It went focused again. Up in there, you'll see how they're all sealed in there and everything. So everything I did to really set this up is looking like a real engine. Now, I'm going to show you real quick. On this, I put the correct wires in there, like what I'm going to be mounting on the back for the coils. The smaller on the outer side and the bigger on the inner side, which is supposed to be. There's how I've done all those. I'm going to be painting the base of these relays should be a mustard yellow color. The centers of these can be an off bronzy color if you wish. I put a black line around the window. Generally, they had just a rubber seal that they put on there, so you wouldn't get a whistling or a wind noise through there, and then they bolted it in. Now, on the back side, I kind of didn't like how it just stopped. You cut everything off, which is incorrect. So the small distributor wires, I have them going up to the relay on the first back, and the top I did cut off. All the holes that are here I'm going to seal. Then on this unit, those wires that were on the end, the wires go to the base of the bottom one of this and the top one of this. So the first ones on this far side, I mounted into the base of the bottom one, and the other ones I put into here, because that's the real correct way that would be happening. But so I basically set up the back of this also. So I kind of go over and above. And then the seats I'm going to be flocking, because the seats were actually originally flocked. And I got the idea from one of the gentlemen I saw on a YouTube channel. And he helped me out at where he got the stuff. The company is called Flockit. That's Flockit, Flockit. And they actually did send the flocking to a lot of companies that are restoring original 917Ks or KHs, and they're supplying the flocking material. But you can buy the small little flocking material. I bought it in the bright red and the cardinal color. The bright red looks really cool, but it's really a deeper red. So I'm going to do a little mixture of the flocking. I bought the rayon. They have rayon and nylon. Nylon lasts better. If it's outdoors, it's a stronger. And if you touch it, it will just stay the same color. If you go with the rayon, my model's not going to be outside, of course. But if you go on the rayon, it's a little fluffier, but if you touch it, it does change color. It's neat. It's kind of like those applications, where you rub your hand on it, it goes from one color to another. It looks like a rolling sea kind of thing. So I'm using the rayon, and it's a little bit finer and a little bit shorter, and it'll be, to me, more proportional. But either nylon or the rayon looks really good. And once again, the company is called Flockit. So if you want to do it correctly, the seats were flocked. I mean, just the red painted seats look good, but there's a lot you could do this. Like I say, IXO has done a fantastic job on this model, and so has Agora now, because Agora has also picked up of doing it. You know, same mold, same factory, basically. But they look fantastic, and it's a fantastic model, and I can't wait to finish it. Of course, I'll be depressed once I finish it, because there's just so much that I enjoy doing on it. But it's a lot of work. But in my situation stuff, I like taking my time, and I've built for years and stuff like that. But I've been a cameraman for over 40 years, so I worked on a lot of good movies. My father, I actually met Steve McQueen a few times. My dad used to have a Porsche like Steve had, and they actually, with me in the car one time, we raced up Pacific Coast Highway in 1966, I think it was, here, when my dad was looking for a location to get ready for, we went on the weekend so he could scout out a location they were doing for a movie, and Steve McQueen happened to be driving on Pacific Coast Highway, doing something else, and gets up alongside him. My dad and him were very good friends. In fact, Steve wanted my dad to be the still man on Bullitt and the movie Le Mans, but it figured that my dad was already contracted on a movie when Bullitt came out. In fact, they were filming right across the street from the race scene in Bullitt. Eye of the Cat was Michael Sarrazin was the one that my dad was working on while they were doing Bullitt. And then my dad was asked if he would go to Paris or to France to do Le Mans for Steve McQueen. And my dad said he couldn't. He was gonna. Steve was even gonna see if he could tear me away from the producer and the director, but my dad was already scheduled to do a longer picture. So anyhow, but they were very good friends. My dad worked with them on Wanted, Dead or Alive, and a few other movies. But anyhow, so I just want to show you guys some things. I'm going to be sending this tape over, and he'll probably edit it, but it will be The World of Wayne, just to show some of his Patreons and some of his people that watch his YouTube channel. So anyhow, listen, it'll be time out here, and once again, I'm robbing around town, robbing on the road, and robbing around the world, and I'll be getting better here and stuff, better on doing these videos, but I'll be physically getting better, but they have helped me maintain sanity through all this and everything. So listen, everybody, you guys take care, and I wish you all the best. Be safe and be healthy.